We have just one final touch for the first edition Pathfinder Ranger. Hello everyone, and welcome back down here to the Gamer's Den with me, your host, Jordan, your master of lore and storyteller extraordinaire, and we are wrapping things up for the first edition Pathfinder Switch Hitter Ranger build. Oh god, what a mouthful. But we are going to go over the general strategies and tactics, things you're going to want to employ as a ranger and both with this particular build, and then we're going to touch on maybe why you would want to skip over the two-weapon fighting option that's available to you. But before we get into all of those details, if you're new here to the channel, then go on down there to hit the subscribe button and become a regular member here at the Gamer's Den. Or, if you've already listed yourself on such a legendary roster of fine people such as that, then go on down to hit the like button and share the video far and wide. But now, let's go ahead and go over the Ranger now. So, overall with the Ranger class, you are definitely a combat-oriented character, but that's not all you bring to the table. You have a significant array of skills and a decent number of spells to bring to the fore as well. So, when it comes to combat, you, especially with this particular build, you are going to be good at ranged and at melee. Are some melee builds with other classes going to outperform? Yes, but they tend to not have as good ranged options as you do. Are more focused and dedicated ranged builds going to outperform you? Maybe. It'd take a significant amount of work, but it's possible. But they're not going to be able to as readily switch over to melee as this particular build is. And to top it off, you also have your animal companion to help out. Your animal companion will do a great deal for you, and I would recommend, just on the point of being awesome, fun, as well as mechanically effective, the Tyrannosaurus Rex. Now, if your DM says that they're not going to let you pick out a Tyrannosaurus, then, cheetah, leopard, or, tigers, some one of the great cat options that you might have, tigers, lions, those will probably be the biggest benefit for you, though it's kind of hard to go wrong with the classic wolf. But those other options, cheetahs, leopards, lions, tigers, those are probably going to be the most bang for your buck and be very, very powerful animal companions for you. And not only that, but you also have your spell casting. Your spell casting will do a great deal to supplement your combat abilities, either buffing yourself, buffing your animal companion, or messing with your opponents at a significant amount of range, using the different entangling vines spells, in particular the one that begins to deal a significant amount of damage. Any opponents caught in that, they're going to be taking damage from that spell, and you can still fire arrows at them. Or, if other enemies are closing into melee with you, you ditch your bow and then switch over to your sword. I like to pick up the greatsword myself, but the falchion is probably better overall for this build. Yes, it has the lower base damage at 2d4 plus strength and a half, versus the longsword's 2d6 plus strength and a half, but its critical range is normally 18 to 20 times 2. With the different feat selections we have here, that gets expanded out to 15 to 20, meaning at least 1/4, a whole quarter of your attack rolls are going to end up potentially being critical hits, and with your high attack bonus, you're going to reliably confirm those critical hits. And with confirming critical hits, you're going to be using your blinding critical feat pretty regularly once you get up to that level. And inflicting blindness on an opponent is going to be an incredible debuff to hit them with. And to top it off, even if they make their fortitude save, they can still suffer the stunning effect afterwards. And stun is still a pretty solid effect to throw down on an opponent, especially if you get lucky and get back-to-back hits with it. So definitely you are going to be a dangerous opponent. And also by 5th level, your range damage is really going to begin to pick up, because composite longbows of strength, those do get expensive to kind of continuously buy new upgraded versions for, because they're limited in how much strength they're rated for applying to your arrows. So Getting in deadly aim will add a significant chunk of damage, as will feats like rapid shot, many shot. Those will also to help put more arrows down range and increase your damage. And then once you're able to put on the adaptive enchantment to your longbow, then you don't really have to worry about buying new upgrades. You spend 1,000 gold and this bow will now increase its strength rating to match whatever rating you are at. So you have an easy way of increasing your damage that much further. And don't forget, you have class abilities like Favored Enemy, which are really going to boost your damage output against specific enemies. And then we have that spell that allows you to transfer your Favored Enemy bonus to an enemy that you're currently fighting, an enemy type that you're currently fighting. So this gives you a great deal of adaptability in that case. It may be only for a short time, but still, that's an incredible boon to have if you're getting hit with an enemy type, a significant number of enemy types that you are not prepared for with Favored Enemy. So definitely a great spell to have in your back pocket there. And also don't forget that you also have abilities like Improved Evasion, which are going to help you with ranged attacks from, say, wizards throwing out fireballs or lightning bolts. Enemy wizards love to use their blasting spells, so reducing damage from all of that is going to be very, very handy for you. And then don't forget items that you're going to have, items that are handy for most any class, but the Efficient Quiver is in particular going to be useful for you because this gives you an easy way to store your bow. You can start storing javelins, rods, staves, wands, particular arrows that maybe you don't use all that often but want to still keep handy and ready close by just in case. Say perhaps you need a arrow that's been alchemically prepared to be silvered to deal with werewolves and the like. Definitely a good option for you. And then we have the feather token for the oak tree that you can just throw down and boom, massive oak tree in front of you. This pairs well with your tree stride ability, allowing you to cover a significant amount of ground or giving you a safe space to sleep. And then we also have the Restful enchantment that you want to throw down on your Mithril full plate armor whenever you get around to buying that. That will allow you to rest for 2 hours and be able to rest in your armor without suffering any penalties from fatigue or exhaustion. So, an incredibly handy thing to have. And remember, if you're going anywhere near water, or you're going to be spending a significant amount of time near water, having an enchantment like Buoyant put on you will help to really reduce and eliminate those armor check penalties that would otherwise be interfering with your ability to swim. And that brings up another point. For being such a combat-focused class, you do still have a significant number of skill points that make you useful outside of combat as well. And again, your spell options, while more focused on buffing or messing with your opponents, are still going to be handy in a wide variety of situations and give you a significant amount of utility. So definitely keep that in mind and keep some of these spell options on hand. All the way around, you have the only way to put this, and I keep saying it, but you will have options more often than not. It's going to be a rare day when this character is not going to be able to be utilized to some degree or another. You're going to be able to participate at range, in melee, with spells, with skills. You have an animal companion to help supplement on many of these things. Oh, and speaking of your animal companion again, don't forget to get greater magic fang put on them and made permanent, so that way they can begin overcoming damage reduction and getting bonuses to hit and their damage. Increasing that damage output will be great, believe me, it's so handy. And then Magical Knack. The Magical Knack trait treats your caster level as if it were 2 levels higher, making your spells harder to resist or more effective overall, either lasting longer, having better bonuses, or again, having higher DCs to resist. So all the way around, you have a lot of great options here. And the only other thing I would really recommend as far as this build is go with the baseline human. That extra feat does so much for you. Having quick draw for that moment's notice where you're firing at your opponents with your bow. They're starting to close to melee. They're getting close enough to, you want to be prepared. You just drop your bow and then quick draw out your greatsword or your falchion or whatever two-handed weapon you have on hand and just start going to town on people. Your ability to soften people up at range, hamper their abilities with spells, buff yourself, and then get into the fight and just absolutely turn into a person blender is going to be unparalleled. Now, with all of that said, for the switch hitter build, let's talk about why you would want to do that, or even just go flat out being an archery focused bard over doing two-weapon fighting. Two-weapon fighting carries with it some significant penalties, especially if you're using anything larger than small weapons. Even then, at small weapons, you're looking at -2s to hit on both weapons. So you're going to want to go with something like short swords to mitigate that. That's 1d6 damage on each of those. Your main hand will get your full strength bonus. Your offhand will gain half. So you're essentially doing 2d6 plus strength and a half damage. So, and I already covered why that's a bit of a hindrance though, because each of those attacks carries that penalty to hit. Whereas if you were to go with an archery focused ranger, who is still going to have a high strength, because high strength adds on to range damage with composite longbows of strength. If they just go with a greatsword, they're going to be getting 2d6 plus strength and a half damage, and they're not taking that penalty to hit either. So an archery focused bard is going to be hitting more often and doing the same amount of damage, and they're not even built or spec'd out for it, whereas the two-weapon fighting ranger is going to take a significant amount of time building up and being able to outpace that, because it's a very feat intensive option to go with, because you need two-weapon fighting, improved two-weapon fighting, greater two-weapon fighting, and then you're going to want to pick up things like two-weapon rend in order to boost your damage a little bit more. And you're probably going to want to pick up a two-weapon defense option that allows you to treat your offhand weapon as a shield, essentially, giving you a shield bonus in combat. And even that will still take more and more feats to make more and more effective. So you really, really kind of shoot yourself in the foot and really slow yourself down. And to make this build worthwhile, I would say you wouldn't want to stay pure ranger. You would want to dual class into something like rogue. Rogue, which gives you a sneak attack bonus. So that helps to supplement your damage output quite a bit. And also, rogue and ranger skills tend to mesh together pretty nicely, what with evasion, improved evasion, all the different stealth skills, perceptions, the ability to detect traps and disarm those traps. That comes together pretty well overall, I would say. And the only other thing I could really add is that take these guides for what they are. They're guides. They're just a mechanical, mathematical look at what are the more effective options. I'm not building these to be stupid, broken, overpowered, but I do want to try to show you how to make something that is mechanically effective, so that way you can still have fun. But if you notice something that catches your eye and just makes you go, that looks like a lot of fun, I'd rather go with a maul than using a greatsword or a falchion or a spear or a halberd, or if you want to use a crossbow instead of a composite longbow of strength, do that. Do what's fun for you. Do what fits your particular build, your idea, the story that you have for your character. If you're having fun and you've got a good story, those are the most important things. Or at least to me, those are the most important things. So take this guide with a grain of salt and remember it's just that, a guide. But what do you think? Go on down to the comments below and let me know your thoughts. Did you like today's video? Did you dislike it? Either way, hit those like or dislike buttons and engage me in the comments down below, and we'll have ourselves a good discussion. And remember, if you're new here to the channel, then go on down there to hit the subscribe button and become a regular member here at the Gamers Den. But with all that said, I've been your host, Jordan, your master of lore and storyteller extraordinaire. Thank you all so very much for your time, and you all have yourselves a good night.